Bella's coming back, and collectors are going batty. Here's your look at the NECA toys. Dracula, Bela Lugosi, Ultimate Count Dracula. To celebrate the 90th anniversary of Universal Monsters' acclaimed silver screen classic, NECA announces an ultimate action figure of the most famous vampire of them all, Dracula. NECA worked closely with the estate of Bela Lugosi to capture the actor's expressive likeness in 3 different head sculpts and for additional background detail on important costume elements. Standing in 7-inch scale, the Ultimate Dracula Transylvania action figure has soft goods cape and comes with premium anniversary packaging and plenty of accessories. When it comes to releasing incredible Universal Monster figures, you can always count on the folks over at NECA Toys. Yeah, I've been saving for that one for a while. I know, yes, it's been a while, and this figure's been out for a while, and I haven't had yet the chance to have a look at this guy. Well, finally getting down to looking at Bela Lugosi's Dracula, and I may very well have saved the best for last. I'm going to grab the tape measure just to see how tall the figure stands. Bela Lugosi is about 7 1/4 inches in height, or the figure's 18 centimeters tall. We may not have a Gillman yet, but we do have at least a Frankenstein's monster. So here's what the Bela Lugosi Dracula looks like along with the Boris Karloff Frankenstein's monster. With stand included, here's as well what the figure looks like with the Lon Chaney Wolfman. And to bring back another character made famous by Boris Karloff, here's what the figure looks like along with the Mummy. Happy to see that NECA has packed quite a lot of stuff here with Dracula. First we'll look at a bat. No, just ordinary bat, in fact. I'm guessing this is the bat that he transforms into. I don't know why I chuckle so much looking at the face of the bat. It almost looks like he's sticking his tongue out. It's a nicely sculpted bat, fairly large also in size. It's molded here in all black plastic. You may notice right away that there's quite an unsightly hole on the bottom of it. In order to have it levitating, I'm sure you could just hold it all the time next to your figure, but that gets tiresome. Your arm will get tired. So NECA's thought of that, and what they've done instead is they've included this clear post. This acrylic post simply just attaches onto the bottom of the bat. It covers certainly over the hole, that's one good thing, but it also gives you some additional articulation, providing of course you can get the peg all the way in there. On the bottom of it, of course, because again, you just can't stand around holding this. You could if you want to, or you could pay someone just to hold the bat and occasionally go, but you're not going to do that. What you'll do instead is you'll get yourself a black stand that does have the hole on the top there. You just line up then the clear acrylic post, pop that in place, and now you've got yourself the bat that goes along with Bela Lugosi. I like the look of that. What I do also like the look of is all the other things that come included with the figure. Like, for example, you get yourself a plate or saucer. The saucer, I'm not sure, is in silver, but it certainly does have like a dark silver or even dark gunmetal finish to it. And it looks like they've added some additional wear and tear with additional paint. I like the look of the saucer. To go on top of that, the figure also comes included with the bottle. The bottle looks like it already has been opened and likely already poured a few glasses, judging by the fact that the goblets do also have things filled inside of it. I do like the look of the bottle. It's pretty simple. It looks like it's molded here more in a dark, translucent green. It's kind of a little harder to make it out. I'm hoping maybe the light might be able to pick it up a little bit, or you might even be able to see by the end of the bottle it's more of a translucent green plastic. It's well painted, and from what I remember, it looks like the bottle that we get from the film. This can, of course, sit on top of the plate. And, of course, one other thing that can go along with the plate, pouring already them off, is you get yourself 2 filled goblets. Quickly toasting, quickly checking also as well the kind of liquid that you may find inside the goblet before you just blindly drink it down. It does look like it is filled, and it looks like it's likely been filled in blood. These can be held in his hands. The figure does have somewhat gripping hands, like he has this hand right here that can hold the goblet fairly well. You sort of have to wedge it in between the thumb and the pointer finger, and it does an okay job of balancing the goblet in his hand. I'm just wondering who's going to be offered the other one. The figure also then, while we're on the topic of this, comes also included with a candelabra. The candelabra looks like the candle's been melting for a while. If I can get that to focus, you can see some nice streaming of wax running down the top of the side of the candle and dripping down the metal area of the candelabra. The candelabra does have a really neat look to it, and it does have a little handle there to the side. And while he doesn't have the means right now to hold the candelabra with the hands at least he has for right now, Rest assured that the figure does also come included with a hand suitable for that, because of course it's NECA Toys producing the figures after all. You got yourself a little gripping hand, and it's sliced in the middle. You can see that they've divided the fingers, 2 on one side, 2 on the other. And right in the middle, there's a perfect place then to take the handle of the candelabra, sort of just kind of wedge it in between his thumb and those 2 fingers. But if you rest it against that little slot, he holds the candelabra perfectly, to the point where, in fact, you can actually tilt it upside down. I like the touch of included that. I suppose they could have just easily included a gripping hand, but it never would have properly held the candle in place. This way, at least, by adding a little slot provided, again, I don't know why that's not focusing, providing a little slot in the middle of in between 2 fingers on either side, it's just the right thickness, just the right width to hold the candelabra perfectly in place. While it may look a little awkward like things holding the candle, the figure also comes included with a couple of other hands as well. More gestured hands, I suppose, than anything else. The defaulted hands that he actually has right now sort of has one finger, kind of all the fingers, I should say, more extended, but they kind of form a fan. Whereas these hands are actually a little bit more, I guess, a little bit more gestured hands than these ones right here. It's subtle, but you can see like the differences are there between the 2 hands. While we're also certainly on the topic of this, let's go ahead and just remove the hand for right now. I did want to show you what this looked like with the candelabra hand. By far my favorite thing, and the way I'm going to be displaying the figure. Just bend the elbow a little bit, and there you got Bela Lugosi holding the candle in place. Probably may not work for the rest of this review, so after all that, we're just going to remove the candle anyways. We'll leave the hand in place for right now. The figure also comes included, moving everything out of the way, with 2 other head sculpts not currently present on the neck. Now, this one has the more angry expression, and in this one, he actually has more of a smile on his face. Of all the options available, with the one in the middle not showing you yet, this one's just kind of more of a defaulted head. This one does have the big smile on his face. These ones, I guess, are the more closer in proximity. If I just, can I do all 3? There we go. You can see the difference between the 3 heads. I honestly, though, while this one bears even still a strong resemblance to Bela Lugosi, it's my least favorite, honestly, of the 3 head sculpts. I like this one first. I like this one second, and I like this one just by process of elimination. It's the last. It's the copper. It still gets the medal, but it doesn't get first or second place. To change the heads out, first of all, we want to look at the defaulted head. What an incredible likeness to Bela Lugosi. It's a little easier in this case to actually pull off a likeness to the actor. Now, that could make or break a company because, of course, now all the pressure's on them to deliver a likeness that looks exactly like the actor. They could get away with that a little bit more, I think, with the Wolfman. I could get a little bit more away with that when it comes to the Mummy or maybe even Frankenstein's monster. But like Bela Lugosi, looks like Bela Lugosi. So you have to land the head sculpt right. And I do think in this case they did. Not only does it look a lot like Bela Lugosi, but I think the coloring works quite well for this figure as well. Now, there is going to be a black and white. There is already a black and white version of this figure as well. I'd like to get my hands on that. And even at the time of looking at the other Universal Monster figures, it has now dawned on me. Probably not conversations that Bella would really likely to hear, but it's just dawned on me. I have still yet to get the black and white version of the Mummy. Gonna have to track that one down soon. But to change out the heads is actually quite easy. The first time around, if you did want to, say, change this head, but I think I'm going to change it to this one. The first time you do it, you feel like you're pulling more head off than you need. Because when you're removing it, you realize right away how long of a neck that you have to remove. I'm not sure why. Probably did it so that the ball joint would, obviously, they'd have to have it low enough down in there and be able to still manage to clear the collar. But when you put it in, you realize, like, that's a pretty long neck. Changing the heads, though, is super easy. You just simply pop the new head in. The collar, by the way, is a fairly soft plastic, and I don't know why I have such satisfying enjoyment putting the head in all the time. I mean, you don't even have to really pop it onto the ball joint, but if you want to have far enough in there, just finish the job that you started. And that's what the smirking or smiling face sculpt looks like instead. By far my favorite of the 3. The coloring that they've done around the areas of the eyes, I really like the dark, almost purple shadowing that they've done there as well. And I think the skin tone works extremely well for a character that's technically black and white. One other accessory that the figure also comes included with as well, let's just move everything out of the way here. The figure also has, of course, his cape. One thing I really like about the cape is it does have natural weight to it. The material that NECA chose to use is actually fairly heavy. It's got a little bit of elasticity to it. You can see by stretching it how you can still see something in, well, there's my finger right there. You can still see the figure behind it. But it's a fairly heavy material, and it drapes naturally on the figure's body. Initially, I was wondering how this would attach, and what it literally is, it's just a C-clamp piece of plastic. The top part of the collar is plastic, and by that alone, it fits fine over the figure's body. It just clips around the figure's neck, clamp it in place, and it does do a pretty good job of staying in place. For some reason, I'm having a harder time doing this when I was normally doing it from before. Let's just grab the cape here. Sorry about that. Let's grab the cape and try that again. Yeah, I didn't have an issue with this doing this before. Maybe I just don't have the head all the way in there. There we go. That's what it was. Now just take, of course, the cape. Yeah, that's going to fit a lot better. Fits fairly easy around his neck, providing you got the neck low enough in there. And it stays well in place. The only thing about it, though, is where you've got the cape attached, obviously is going to limit the articulation of the figure. And already, while rotating the head back and forth, it does often free the cape from the back of his neck. So you may always want to have, if you want to have the cape attached and the neck low enough in there, you want to always make sure the head is always kind of facing forward. But I like the look of the cape. Material is really good quality on this as well. I'm going to remove it just for right now. We're going to come back to that a little bit later, looking at the rest of the outfit. He does have, again, the tailed jacket on the back. The plastic on the back is a fairly soft material that they've used. Obviously, he's not going to be ever in a seated position, but at least if he did want to sit inside a Dracula Roadster or something along those lines, at least he'd have a soft enough plastic in order to accommodate a seating Dracula. Of course, he does have the little necklace piece that he has on the front of his collar. That's nicely painted as well, and sort of not quite a very blood red, but kind of more of an orangey red instead. Nice additional gold that they've added there as well. He's got the little handkerchief there to the side. This is actually built in already to his vest. So if you thought for a second that the jacket would be separate, it's all one piece. It's going together for the ride. Part of me does wish, though, that the jacket was a separate piece, but, I mean, really, why would it need to be anyways? It's not like I'm ever really going to have the plan to take the jacket off anyways. I just kind of wish that there would be a little bit more layers to it. There is a little bit of peel on the bottom of it, so at least it does look like it is separate from the rest of the vest, even if it isn't. Then, of course, further down below that, he's got some nice texturing done to his pants, though it doesn't look like they've used any real paint to it. Maybe they may have just painted over top of the darker plastic, but it looks like they probably would have just cast this in black plastic. But it does have a very different looking texturing to it than what you'll see anywhere else on the rest of the vest or rest of the jacket. For the figure's articulation, going back to his head, the head is on a ball joint, but it's in a ball joint where, so like the head here is attached to the neck, so on its own, it already moves back and forth. But then there's also a neck articulation point down below here. I often wondered why couldn't they have just kept the neck in place and just not had the head be the thing that would remove. Maybe it would just be a lot easier just to remove the neck and the head in one piece. But really, to remove the head again, do I even really want to remove this? If to remove it again, I feel like they used additional materials and cost in order to produce a neck, when really they could have just replaced swappable heads instead. But I guess maybe the neck, they've realized this. They know what they're doing. They probably just realized that changing out the neck would be a lot easier than trying to change out the head. Popping that, make sure, of course, I got it all the way in. So really, between the two, you've got a ball joint here, although it's really hard to see because it's, of course, behind a collar. But then you've got a secondary ball joint right here. So the head actually moves in two places, in the head and then also in the neck as well. As for the shoulders come out now. Obviously, the shoulders are going to be a little bit more limited. The shoulders don't quite pull off 90 degrees. They come close to 90, but a little less than that. They do rotate, yes, all the way around. You can swivel the arm back and forth, and the figure does only have a single hinge in the elbow. I don't really think it necessarily needed a second hinge in the first place anyways. The arms, the hands, I should say, rotate all the way around. There's a hinge back and forth on those as well. The upper torso is on a ball joint. And again, like being that this is all soft plastic, it doesn't seem like I really have to fight too hard in order to get the body to move. I mean, you can move it quite freely all the way around. Legs do split out. They're on ball joints, it seems to be. And you can also bring the legs forward. You can bring the legs back. His lower half is similar to his top half. Soft plastic here, but at first at least conceals the joint. And also when it comes to moving the joints around, specifically his legs, the lower torso, I know some may call it a figure diaper, but at least it doesn't have any hang-ups when it comes to trying to move the figure's legs around. So again, like you can move them forward, you can move them back. Figure has a lower hinge on his lower leg, right at the knee, and you can rotate it back and forth. And the figure also has toe articulation as well. Check out those shiny looking shoes. And the figure does have pegals on the undersides of his feet. All in all, what a great looking figure this turned out to be. If it was the case where we had to wait a little longer for them to clear the things with Lugosi's estate, I'm glad to see that we finally did get ourselves Dracula. And to that regard, I'm actually glad. Though it did take me a little bit longer to look at this figure, I think it was well I feel at least well worth the wait. He is, for me at least, the best of the batch. To bring it back in the other figures we've already had a look at, there's Frankenstein's monster, there's the Mummy bookend by Boris, and again, there's Lon Chaney's Wolfman. The only thing we still have yet to get is a Invisible Man, and we have a Creature from the Black Lagoon and a Phantom of the Opera, and I think then we've got ourselves, oh, I guess the Bride. We are getting ourselves, yes, the Bride of Frankenstein. But we're on our way to having a good collection of Universal Monster figures. All I've found have gotten better and better and better, with the best of the batch again being one from Bela Lugosi. Just before we actually head on over to the rotisserie, one last thing I did want to talk about for Dracula's cape is a part that I didn't notice in the review. If you remove the cape, I already have attached it onto the back of the figure's body, and if you move the fabric back, it's probably the easiest way to see it. The plastic obviously fits and conforms around his existing neck, but you may be also able to see that there's this little lip of plastic. See, it sort of sticks down. It almost looks like a capital T. If you use that part of the cape, and when you attach it, you're going to then fit it in between his neck and his collar. It's not easy the first time you do it, and in fact, it was so hard I didn't even notice it the first time around. But if you take that little lip and you move his neck forward, you can actually take then the collar piece, and that lip is more than enough to keep the cape in place, and the cape's not going to go anywhere. You could do it the way that I was doing it in the review, of simply just trying to fit it around his neck, but the way it fits the best is actually just taking that little lip of plastic. Though again, it's longevity, I'm not sure by how many times you're going to be planning to do this, but fitting that into his collar, the neck stays, or cape stays, perfectly in place. Even though this reviewer didn't meet his deadline, so to speak, of actually getting the review up right away, and though this Dracula has been on store shelves for a while, I will be at least rectifying the matter by having a look at the Count Dracula accessory pack in a review that will be following this one shortly. When it comes to displaying this figure, I've got him actually displayed with my least favorite head sculpt, and even just by saying it does not at all diminish the fact that the likeness is still there. Even though that's not my favorite head portrait, I think with all the three across the board, NECA has nailed a likeness to the late actor Bela Lugosi, who of course is the most famously known for playing Count Dracula himself. There is, as far as I know, a black and white version of this guy also as well, circulating, I'm sure, the fields of Transylvania. And of course, I will eventually try to get my hands on that one, and a review of that one will be following as well. Lots of still stuff coming away for when it comes to Universal Monsters. We are still getting the Bride of Frankenstein. I'm really looking forward to getting that one. And I think, as far as I know, they have already announced the glow-in-the-dark version of the Creature from the Black Lagoon, which thereby also means that they're probably already working away at getting an ultimate release of the creature, going to be released soon, and definitely looking forward to getting that one also as well. But what do you guys think of Dracula? Of the four figures of the werewolf, the Wolfman, the Mummy, and Frankenstein's monster, and now, of course, Dracula, which one do you think was handled the best? Which one do you think NECA did the best when it came to their figure release? I feel personally it was Bela Lugosi, and I also feel, and I'm not just saying it because I ran behind of getting the review up for this guy, I feel like I kept the best for last. It was well worth the wait. But what do you guys think of Dracula? Let me know down below in the comments section. Also as well, if you guys enjoyed this video, want to hit with a like. If you guys are loving the content you guys are seeing, and you certainly do want to stick around for some more NECA reviews, like for example, the Dracula accessory pack, which will be coming up shortly, promsies. Make sure if you haven't already done so that you hit that subscribe button down below, and that you're also turning on the bell notification. And of course, as always guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.